And the major causes of the endocrine disturbances have increased recently because of the nutritional programs and many climatic change conditions. These are all have lead to the certain problem related to the change in the endocrine. The endocrine milieu of the animal body is changed, and because of this, the managemental ovulatory defects can say increased. Friends, all of you are knowing that the ovulation is a complex process. Successful ovulation is really is a very complex process involving many biological reactions that reactivate oocyte meiosis, that will create a rupture called in the apical follicle wall, and there will be a tissue restructuring and the differentiated. And but everything what we know that as a clinician, we know that ovulation is initiated by a single triggers of the gonadotropin surge, LH and FSH from the anterior pituitary. Now, friends, successful ovulations require that it should release a oocyte which is competent enough for its fertilization, as well as at an appropriate time it should be released. Otherwise, it has no meaning for the fertilization. We know that ovulation is not controlled by a single factor. There are multiple factors like endocrine hormone, immune and metabolic signal, intrafollicular paracrine factors, as well as the oocyte itself. These figures will show you some of these various types of the biochemical reactions that is taking place inside the cells, what happens while how this follicle get ruptured at a proper time. We are not going to discuss detail about this one. But see, we know that at estrous cycle, this is a pattern of follicular development, how the follicle is recruited. First, a cohort of the follicle is recruited, and that will be after that one, some follicle will be selected, some will go atresia, and out of this selected follicle, only single follicle will reach to a Graafian nature follicle. Rest of this will remain again atresia. These are known phenomena to use all. And again, if you think about the estrous cycle, these are little depictions of the estrous cycle, how this wave-like different wave structure we have created here, the two wave estrous or follicular waves of the estrous cycle. And again, this hormonal, what are the level of the hormone at different level that has been presented here. We know that at the time of ovulation, nearly 24 hours, just 24 hours before the ovulations, the highest levels of the estradiol is achieved, and highest level of the estradiol that we can see here. Along at the time of estradiol also, the LH is also at its highest level. LH is also at its highest level. This is the two very important hormones that is essential, that is required for the ovulations. Now, again, the timing of the ovulations. We know that the occurrence of ovulations is in relation to the heat, if we talk, is 30 hours after the onset of the standing estrus. And the gamete that viable into the female genitalia, the ovums are fertile only for a few hours, or maximum from 8 to 12 hours. Amount of them, the fertility life is only for 6 to 10 hours. However, the spermatozoa may remain viable for 24 hours in domestic animal, except in beach, where the dog spermatozoa remain viable for a longer period. Now, higher conception rate is achieved when AI is done for 8 to 12 hours after onset of the standing estrus. Here we have shown that this is the standing estrus. So if this insemination is done before 8 to 12 hours of this at the onset of standing estrus, before the ovulation, about 15 hours before the ovulation, the highest conception rate will be achieved. Now, see, this is the what should happen. But sometimes it does not happen, that will result into ovulatory defects. We know that three types of the ovulatory defects are there: delayed ovulation, anovulations, and cystic ovarian follicle. We will discuss only, or we will concentrate only on these three aspects of the ovulatory defects only. Now, if it thinks about delayed ovulation, let us start with the delayed ovulations. The normal ovulations is supposed to occur after 24 to 26 to 28 hours after the pre-ovulatory surge. That is 15 to 18 hours after the external signs of estrus has See, this is here again. Yes, this picture will show that physiological LH peak will be here, and somewhere here the ovulation should occur. If this is delayed, the ovulation will also delayed. That is what is called as a delayed ovulation. The factors that are responsible to delay the ovulations are delay in inadequate pre-ovulatory LH peak. The factors include increasing the pre-ovulatory LH peak, negative energy balance, heat stress, certain infectious, subrachal levels of progesterone. These are all many factors that are they mentioned delayed in the delayed ovulations. If we talk about the incidence of the ovulation, delayed ovulations in the repeat breeding, particularly in repeat breeding condition, why this measure of the animals when repeat breeders, we suspect it for the delayed ovulations. The one Hannard and his co-worker in 1993, they have conducted our experiment and shows that within 24 hours inseminations, if we inseminate the repeat breeding animal, there was a the 90.7% of the conception rate they achieved. And those where the ovulation had taken in first service also, their conception rate was quite good. But in animals where the ovulations occur 24 to 36 hours after the insemination, the conception rate was very low. That is only 9.3%. Whereas in case of the first service, it was only 6.7%. It indicate definitely there was no case where the ovulations occurs after 36 hours of the inseminations. That was clearly mentioned that the incidence are nearly about 10% in the repeat breeding animals. Now, why this or what happens that because of this delayed ovulation, the fertility is affected? What happens is that because of the ovulation at inappropriate time, there will be a aging of the oocytes or the aging of the spermatozoa. Both of these, any of these will lead to the failure of the fertilization and the poor development of the poor developmental potential of the embryo, and early embryo mortality is also found. Now, during this, because of the delay, what the environment found in the oviduct is also changed, and that is not a suitable environment for the development of the embryo. So it will result into a death or the failure of the further successful development. Now, how one can prevent the delayed ovulations? There are lot many literature available. Lot many are saying, people are saying that the in delayed ovulation you go for repeated insemination at 12 hours or 24 hours of the interval. But recent studies have shown that whether you go for single insemination or repeated insemination, in case of the delayed ovulation, there was not much benefit was observed. However, a common consensus is that administrations of the GnRH around the time of the service will increase the conception rate in case of the delayed ovulations. The occasional ovulations usually occur within 24 hours after the GnRH injection. It is similar to that of time from the onset of estrus until the ovulations. Now, administrations is how it will act on either it's GnRH or it's analog, anyone can be used. At the time of the insemination, if we use, that will lead to the modifications in the functions of the pre-ovulatory ovarian follicles, and the follicle will rupture. That is how you can see that this in figure that after these injections of this GnRH, about within 24 hours, the ovulation will take place. The timing of the what period the GnRH treatment should be given. See, at the time, you can give it the time the 6 hours before the AI. This is required because for the certain types of the endogenous LH release, certain types of the chronological event should happen. For that only you need that it should be given up to 6 hours before at the time of the AI. Now, usually in practice, majority of the animals are giving GnRH at the time of artificial insemination, and it yields a very satisfactory result as reported by Rosenberg and his co-worker in the 1991. Even afterwards also there are many of the work has been done in the literature. And they say that at the time of the artificial insemination, if we inject the GnRH, satisfactory conception rate is achieved. There are many different workers who agreed that the treatment with GnRH at the time of insemination in reproducing animal, dairy cow, that increase the pregnancy. So clearly we can come to conclusion that GnRH should be injected at the time of insemination in reproducing condition. Friends, you are well aware that when I say reproducing animals, it is free of infections, free of any its congenital or the anatomical defects. It should be a pure reproducing condition where no apparent abnormalities of the genital organs or the genital discharge is seen. In such conditions, such types of the result are achieved. Now, one meta-analysis was carried out by Morgan and Lin regarding the different regarding the GnRH administration at the time of the first AI after calving, and they clearly mentioned that there was a increase in conception rate when the GnRH treated animal as compared to the control groups. Very clearly it is mentioned that the conception rate was, except one Chenault, he reported that the conception rate was decreased rather than the, but has not increased. Otherwise, every author has reported a nice increase in the conception rate in those animals which were treated with the GnRH. Now, what happens? Repeated conditions respond better with the GnRH treatment. It supports the hypothesis that proportion of repeat breeding cows which had previously failed to conceive because of failure in the timing or magnitude of the GnRH or the LH surge at the estrus. That type of the statement can be made, and it was already made by Morgan and Lin. Now, body condition score may affect the GnRH. They say that the treatment with GnRH in case of the heat stress conditions. The Ullah and his co-worker has conducted an experiment in a postpartum animals, stress animal with the GnRH treatment, and that has improved the fertility result in comparison to the non-treated group. At conception rate of the heifers with delayed and normal ovulations. In case of the delayed ovulations, the pregnancy was found about 42.1%, whereas in case of normal 44.8%. Conception rate did not differ. Fernandez and his co-workers are of the opinion that whether you give the GnRH or not, but that will not affect the conception rate of the animal. Anyhow, it's a difference of opinion. But people are giving the GnRH and getting a good result. So it is recommended that in case when the case is suspected for the GnRH, for the diagnosis of the delayed ovulations, the sequential examinations, rectal examinations, or the ultrasonic examination for the presence of the follicle on the ovary for more than 24 hours is the key for its diagnosis. In field, usually many times this is not possible. So depending upon the history, the people are telling, people considering that delayed ovulations and treating accordingly. However, nowadays in case of these crossbred animals, everybody has the experience that they usually remain in estrus for 3 to 4 days, except instead of it should remain about 12 to 18 hours for the estrus. Instead of they remain for the 3 to 4 days in estrus, and this is a real concern. Now, what happens in that animal, whether they are the real delayed ovulatory or it is the extended phase of the follicular or the follicular phase or the estrogenic phase, is not yet clear. And people are treating with these animals with the GnRH and getting a good result. Definitely, this is the topic of research. Whether these animals are really they are the delayed ovulatory or it is the extended phase of the follicular or the estrogenic phase, that need a research. And no authentic data is available or paper is published on this aspect where the stress remain, signs of the stress remain for 3 to 4 days, and animal was treated with the GnRH or the SCG, and good results are obtained. Now, another topic or another ovulatory defects we have to discuss is the anovulations. The anovulation is used to identify the cow which is not ovulating at or near the time that breeding of these cows should occur. That fails to ovulate. That animal, it does not ovulate, even though the follicle is there, everything is there, but the animal will not ovulate. And to diagnose these conditions, anovulatory condition, it should be required the sequential ultrasonographic examinations or the estimations of the progesterone concentration in the blood. The progesterone concentration examinations is a very known procedures for the diagnosis of the ovulations and development of the corpus luteum. Now, incidence of anovulations in lactating dairy cows were assessed by various workers using either the progesterone estimation or by the ultrasound or by using by both, where they have observed that in primipara, these incidents are higher compared to the multipara. In the multipara animals, these types of the incidents are lower as compared to the primipara. And this is the almost observations of almost all the authors from 2001 to 2006. Because of the anovulation, if we discuss, then there are three primary follicular growth patterns that had been observed in ovulation. That follicle to deviation, follicle to emergence, and follicle to ovulatory signs. The follicle to deviations is seen when the 4 mm follicles are there, emergence follicles are of 9 mm, and ovulatory follicles are more than 9 mm up to 15 or 20 mm size. Now, this anovulation with follicle growth because of the emerging follicles, maybe because of the chromosomal abnormality, or if the animal is severely undernourished. In these conditions, such type of the follicles will go in atresia. Now, in postpartum follicle also, that will also grow till 6 to 8 mm diameter, but do not go for the deviation and again go for the atresia. That annulation with follicle growth to deviation, that small over with the absence of the corpus luteum or ovulatory size follicle, but in such condition the follicular wave was present, but they do not reach to the maturity level. In particular, this is most common such types of the anovulation which reach to the deviation level up to the level of the deviation, and then atresia is common in pre-pubertal animals as well as in a postpartum periods. Now, why this has happened? Because of the number of the estradiol receptors that is in the medial basal hypothalamus that decrease, thereby decreasing the feedback of the estradiol on the LH pulse release. This is a very important cause. Because of this number of the estradiol receptor that decrease, and this number of the estradiol receptor increase is determined by the concentrations of the estrogen into the blood. When the sufficient numbers of the blood, the sufficient amount of the estrogen is not in the blood, there is no development in estradiol receptors, and hence the positive feedback mechanism of the estradiol, ultimately it results into the lack of LH pulse reading, and finally anovulation will result. Such types of the events also happens in a postpartum dairy cow because of the negative energy balance. Another, the third anovulatory follicles that grow up to the ovulatory size or larger size but do not to a size more than ovulatory size. But the follicle surpass the ovulatory size and yet not to a diameter there, but it will not be considered as a follicular cyst. It may become little larger, but it is not considered to. That is another third type of the anovulations of the follicle. Now, if we think about its treatment, then ovulatory cow may respond to OSync protocol. We are all now known, very familiar that with the OSync protocol. This program gives a better result instead of anything else. OSync plus CIDR also give a better result. They have checked the OSync with the CIDR, that is the drug releasing device of the intravaginal controlled intravaginal drug releasing device. Both together will yield the response. The conception rate of the anovulatory cows treated with OSync programs that average from 25 to 35% with a range of 10 to 40%, reported by Guman and its co-workers and Rode and its co-worker in the year 2003. Now, everyone is now familiar with the GnRH protocols. And this protocol appears to induce the ovulation in a high percentage of the anovulatory dairy cow. GnRH followed by the PG-up2 alpha, and again after 48 to 6 seconds GnRH, and a timed artificial insemination about 12 to 14 hours after the is carried out, that timed artificial insemination, that is the OSINT protocol known to everyone. Now, CIDR per synchronous OSINT protocol, that when combined the use of progesterone releasing device with this OSINT time artificial insemination, this CIDR was placed in vagina, and at the times of this PGF12 injection, it was removed, and first injection of the CI is at the time of the results are surprisingly variable. And Stevenson and his co-worker reported that there is no benefits of including the CIDR in the OSINT protocol. The synchronization protocol, ovulation synchronization protocol, is sufficient for the treatment of the anovulations. Now, various types of the synchronized protocols are used, like co-sync, O-sync, pre-sync, and heat-sync. It determines up to when to give the artificial, when to give the GPGV, and when to inseminate, and whether to give the progesterone 2 times earlier, pre-sync, or the heat-sync, where the estradiol siphonate is used. These are all the different types of the synchronized protocols. Now, there are conception rate, as reported by Panchal in the 2006, the conception rate of unadulterated buffalo heifers with the different treatment. They have used the heat-sync protocol, then the O-sync protocol, double O-sync protocol, and the normal saline. They reported about 30 to 40% of the conception. Highest conception rate they have achieved with the O-sync protocol, not with the heat-sync protocol or double sync protocol. But with the OSINT protocol, he reported, or he found a highest 50% conception rate in the in the buffalo heifers. Now, result from study of ovulating and unovulating detailed with the OSINT and heat-sync various workers from 2001 to 2006, they have tried, they have carried out the work in both ovulating animal as well as in anovulating animals. They have all reported that in majority of the cases in ovulatory animals the response was good. However, the fertility or the conception was also noted in unovulatory animals also by the either they have used the OSINT time insemination, artificial insemination, the heat-sync protocol, or OV-sync time insemination, pre-sync with CIDR, or OV-sync and time. These are the different protocols they have used. So this was all about the anovulatory follicles. Now we shall discuss something about cystic ovarian follicles. When ovary contain one or more larger than the mature follicle, that is more than 2.5 centimeter diameter, which persist for longer than 10 days and which result in aberrant reproductive functions, these types of the condition is called as a cystic ovarian degeneration. This is the definition, is long, and even today also it remains the only things I wanted to point out is that the 2.5 centimeter diameter is okay for the crossbred animals, but for the buffaloes, this diameter may be, and even though the animal is having a cystic ovarian degeneration. Now, cyst is the result of the anovulations of a Graafian follicle. The anovulatory Graafian follicle granulosa layer will result in alterations of the normal cyclicity of the cow, so that she become either acyclic or nymphomanic. That is the what is the cyst or the cyst. Now, this we know that on this ovary there are total 5 fluid-filled structures on the ovary. Out of that, follicle is normal. It's a normal structures of fluid-filled structures of the ovary. And another is a vacuolated corpus luteum. Some corpus luteum is having a vacuoles at the centers, and but they are not pathological. They behave like a normal corpus luteum, and they are having they follow the ovulations. Such types of the vacuolated corpus lutea is not seen without the ovulations. Following the ovulations, such types of the vacuolated corpus lutea, they are seen. They are having a centrally vacuoles filled with the fluids, and they regress as the normal corpus luteum, and they maintain the normal cycles. Even if the animal get pregnant, the pregnancy will be also maintained with such types of the corpus luteum. Another is the luteinized follicle. The follicle fails to ovulation, then it will result into a luteinization of the wall of the follicle. The luteinization level will be variable, but this luteinized follicle is sufficient luteinization occur, that is more than 5 layers of the luteinization had taken place. It will behave like a normal corpus luteum, and it will follow all the respond to the endogenous corpus. It will maintain the estrous cycle. The cavity here found is larger than the vacuolated corpus luteum. So this is also a pathological structure because of arise because of the luteinized follicle. But it will not disturb this our estrous cycle or will not show these nymphomanic conditions or the anestrus condition. It will follow the rules of the estrous cycle. Another thing is follicular cyst. These cysts, when these follicles follow the anevolutions, it will result into a follicular cyst. They are usually, we all know that soft, thin walled fluid filled having more than 2.5 centimeter diameter, multiple in one or both ovary. These are all the cyst, follicular cyst, that are all called as a follicular cyst. Such types of the cyst is associated with a low peripheral blood progesterone level, usually below 1 nanogram of the progesterone level. Affected cow will be either anestrus or nymphomanic. Mostly such animals are earlier nymphomanic, later they are converted to a anestrus conditions. Now a luteinized cyst, it also follow the anevolutions of the mature follicle. Usually the luteinized cyst are the conversions of the follicular cyst to the luteinized cyst. The follicular wall get luteinized and they will be termed as a luteinized cyst. They are the thick walled fluid filled structures. Usually they are single on the ovary, not like a follicular cyst which are multiple. And the thickness of this cyst well is usually more than 3 millimeter diameter. There will be a high levels of the peripheral blood progesterone level. When I say high, it does not mean a pregnancy high 4 or 5 nanogram per ml. It's only between 1 to 2, between higher than this follicular cyst. In the follicular cyst, it is below 1 nanogram. Here it will be above 1 nanogram and below 2 nanogram of the progesterone level will be found. The affected cows will show the anestrus. Luteinized cyst affected cow will show the anestrus. The follicular cystic cow will also express the symptoms of nymphomania, where they are called a buller's cow, that will try to be mount on the other animals and will allow the other animals to mount. Whereas in case of the luteinized cyst, because of the prolonged exposures of the progesterone, sometimes they become virilized and act like a steer, and they usually mount the animals into the herd, but will not allow to be mounted by the other animals. These are the characteristics of the luteal cyst. Now, the factors that are responsible for the cystic ovarian degenerations are hereditary, stress, milk production. Higher the milk production, there age, and the plan of nutrition. There are various factors. We are at our college also, we have carried out the detailed studies in collaborations with the Banaskantha Milk Cooperative Dairy Union, where numbers of the cases were studied. We have stress, milk yield, milk per day, and many other factors responsible for causing the cystic ovarian degenerations. Now, the incidence of the cystic ovarian disease is greatest in animal between 4 to 6 years of the age. Why? It is the period when the animal is highest producing animal. That is the period during which the animal produces the highest milk yield, and the higher milk yield is directly related with it's a predisposing factors for the cyst, because it disturbs the secretions of the LH. As for maintenance of the lactations, that the protein inhibition factor is required. These all result into the formation of a cyst because of some disturbance in the secretions of the LH. Now, diseases is more prevalent in higher, what we have discussed. Then the feeding of the high proteinous diet is also a contributing factor. Ketosis, dystocia, stress, twin birth, postpartum uterine infections, they are all predisposing factors for this disease. Now, what happens in etiology? See, sometimes a few cases of cystic ovarian disease are also caused by mechanical interference with the process of ovulation, that is observed in the ovovascular adhesion, but the cases are very few. The more commonly cystic ovarian disease develops as a consequence of a failure of the endocrine mechanism of ovulation. That is the main reason. If the ovulation fails, all chances that the ova which had failed to ovulate will result into a cyst form. The chances, we are the We are more interested in such types of the things only. That because of such types of the things, the anovulation will happens. The initial root of the problem is the dysfunctions of the what we have discussed earlier also, the dysfunctions of the positive feedback of the estradiol on release of the GnRH. We all know that estradiol is responsible for its positive effect on the hypothalamus, which hypothalamus release the gonadotropin releasing hormones, and because of this function, the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis that will alter the pituitary that is altered, and if this is not there, there will be no proper or sufficient estradiol receptors on the hypothalamus, and so the pathway, that is hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, will not function properly, even though the pituitary gland is still able to release the LH. Under such conditions, that will be remain persisted and resulted into a formation of a cyst. There are other theories also, that there is a lack of release of pituitary gland of the LH. Some people are also opinion that the follicles which are developed to a Graafian level has not a sufficient levels of the receptors for the attachment of the LH, and that has lead to the anovulation, and further it has lead to some amount of the luteinizations of the follicle, and ultimately resulting into a cyst. Anyhow, the other factors like prolactin, thyroid system, many things happens bad into the body will affect the reproduction. Their high yielding cow have lower concentration of thyroxine than low yielding animals. Then ovulatory failure and cyst formation are related to high prolactin secretion, we have discussed. Okay. Now, clinical signs, there will be either nymphomania, anistus, or the muscularizations. Cow with follicular cyst, as there is a higher level of the estrogens, the animal will behave as an nymphomanic animal. There will be the animal will show the frequent prolonged estrous cycle with edematous swelling of the vulva, frequent copious discharge of the clear mucus, sinking of the sacroiliac ligament, and upward displacement of the coccygeal vertebra. These are all seen in case of the nymphomanic animal when it becomes chronic. Now, sometimes nervous dispositions with depressed milk and loss of body condition is also seen. There was a case where the animal was showing a very frizzy types of the nervous types of the symptoms, and on examinations without temperature, nothing. But when it was again treated with this SCG, human chorionic gonadotropin 3000 intravenously IV, that nervous signs had disappeared. The animal becomes all right, which was suspected for rabies or the ketosis. But that's a rare case. Such kind of the cases are rare, not a common case. As we have discussed, they will attempt to ride other cows, but will not allow to be and will be mounted by the other cow also. Such types of the animals are more prone to the pelvic and hip fractures, because of this. What happened at the time of the animal approaching the parturition, the same thing will happen here also. Now, the luteal cyst usually results of the cyclic activity, cyclicity. The structural functions, the structures of the cyst will function as if a persistent corpus luteum. And if they left untreated because of the continuous exposure to the steroid hormone, progesterone, they will become virilized. These cows developed a masculine conformations and attempt to mount other cows. But unlike the nymphomanic cow, they will not stand to be mounted by the other cows also, as we have discussed earlier also. So this is the pictures, this is the figure where you can say the ovary with a large cyst. See, this is such types of a large cyst seen. Now, this is the ultrasound pictures of the two cysts. See, this A cyst is a follicular cyst. You can say here the luteinization level of the follicular wall. It is not enough. And this is a luteal cyst. See, these cavities filled with the fluids. You can see the dark area. Here is the fluid of fluids. And this area where I have pointed and colored, that is the thickness of the follicular wall that is luteinized. That is a luteinized wall having the more than 3 millimeter diameter. At our farm also, livestock research station also, we have conducted these types of the work where you can see this, the follicles, cystic follicles having a diameters of about 4.25 centimeters. That was such types of the follicles are available, was observed at the livestock research station of our university only. Now these are again a two follicular cyst and they are and its measurement where the diameter is up to 3.13 centimeter. In another cyst, it was about 2.17 centimeter. This is the cross section of the ovary of a cow showing three cysts with some degree of luteinization. There were consequently three cysts. Some degree of the luteinization has differed. Here you can see the luteinization level. The luteinization level is expressed here. But it's a different. Some has more, some has less. And this is a cross section of the ovary with a typical single thick walled luteal cyst, where a clear, you can say that this all thick layer is a layer of the luteal layer happens because of the luteinization, and this is all a fluid filled structure. This is how these luteal cysts are. Now, when we go for the diagnosis of the cyst, that is luteal or the follicular cyst, the accurate diagnosis is not possible, difficult by per rectal examination. Many a times they are confused, this luteal cyst are confused with the follicular cyst, and follicular cyst are many a time confused with the luteal cyst. However, the progesterone assay we conducted, it's a diagnostic value that 2 nanogram per ml for the milk and 0.5 to 1 nanogram per ml for plasma serum is that determine the type of the cyst. Many times what happens, this cyst, even though the animal is cystic, there is a corpus luteum. In such conditions, with the corpus luteum, cystic animals with a corpus luteum will give a higher concentrations of the progesterone natural, and this creates a problem. It leads to an error. That leads to an error. So this is the limitations of the progesterone assay for the diagnosis. And we all know again one thing more, that cysts are not a static structure, but they are dynamic structures. They will regress only to be replaced spontaneously by another one. That is the characteristic of the cyst. So under that condition, if we have taken the blood progesterone assay, it will also a altered assay. The transrectal ultrasonography imaging, the accuracy for the diagnosis can be improved with this one. So, the thicker wall of the luteal cyst allow the differentiated from the follicular cyst, and the thickness of 3 millimeter is generally considered to be the point of differentiation between the two types of the luteinization. It's called as a follicular cyst. If it is more than 3 ml, it will be called as a luteal cyst. See, this is the photographs taken at our station only, where this is a cystic follicles and luteinization level. It's a follicular cyst. See, very thin layer of this. We can appreciate the very thin layer of the luteinization. Very thin layer. This is here we have measured it. Here we have measured it. It was a very thin layer. And this is a cystic follicles. About 25 to 30 follicles here, follicle is there, but the cystic this luteinization is not proper. And anechoic antrum and a smooth thin wall with fewer gray patches are there. Now again, this is a luteal cyst. That inner cell wall and within the antrum the cyst. This is the level of luteinization. Here the level of luteinization is appreciable. Now the differential diagnosis can be come with the clinical history, rectal palpation, progesterone assay, and ultrasonography image. If all these things happen, then it will lead to the proper diagnosis, which types of the cyst it is. Now, as far as the treatment is concerned, see, spontaneous recovery from the cystic ovarian degeneration in the early post-calving period is a rule. Usually, the postpartum animals are suffering with the various cystic ovary, occasionally with the cyst, but they will only resolve, only self-cure are there within 45 days of the calving. They don't need any treatment. Now, this earlier type method of the treating the cyst by manual rupture per rectum, it is no more recommended. at all because it causes the trauma and hemorrhage. Earlier it was okay when there was no therapeutic agents available, but nowadays one should never use or never do such types of the practice because it lead to another problems of the infertility. Now the surgical removal of the chronicle affected ovary is also a last resort. Before we reach to that much of the chronic level, we should go for the treatment. The choice of the hormonal treatment depends upon the type of the with the HCG, GnRH or progesterone. These are the three options for the treatment of the follicular cyst, whereas lutein cysts are occasionally treated with luteolytic substance like a PGF2 alpha. Now, when we give the HCG, LH by intravenous route, usually we used to give them an underdose. The recommended dose for the cystic ovarian degeneration is 3,000 to 4,000 international unit in United States, whereas in USA they go up to 10,000 international unit. So we should at least practice not to go for 1,000. Usually people are giving 1,500 international unit of the HCG and wait for the cow to respond to the treatment. But because of the underdosing of the hormones, that animal does not respond. If you want to give HCG, give at least 3,000 to 4,500 international unit. Now, people have tried to give small dose of the HCG directly into the cyst, but the method has not become popularized because of its cumbersome in applications. Now, GnRH at the dose rate of 100 to 250 milligrams, or GnRH or its analog. If its analog is that, 10 to 20 microgram only. They have used successfully treat the follicular cyst. The results with GnRH HCG treatment have generally been good. 90% treatment are with GnRH and about the HCG. That the one report says that 50% and 27% of the conceiving animal conceived at 1.4 and 2.25 services respectively with the use of the GnRH and HCG. Now, luteinizations of the follicular cyst on 7th day. This is also again a figure from our farm only, where we have given this GnRH and then measure the thickness of the follicular wall, how much luteinization happened to a follicular cyst. On 7th day, that has given that lead to a good numbers of the 4 mm of the luteinization level was recorded. Now, cystic follicle luteinization level was studied by Joshi in the year 2007 at our department only with the different types of the treatment, and he says that when we give the OSINC, that follicular size which was on the day 0 was 34 mm, is reduced to 32, and luteinization level on day 0 was 2 mm, which has increased to 2.10 mm with the use of OSINC protocol. And when we give the single GnRH injection only, the luteinization level which was 2 at the day 0, that had reached only 3.89 mm. So the OSINC protocol yield a better result with for the GnRH used in the OSINC protocol has resulted in a better luteinization level. However, both where the GnRH were used, but in case of the single GnRH injection protocol, the luteinization level was only 3.89 mm. The follicular cyst can be treated with progesterone also. You know that progesterone, with parental injection of the progesterone or for the intravaginal progesterone releasing device. What does the PRINS or the CIDR, anything can, easy braid, anything can be used for the progesterone, continuous releasing of the progesterone. What the progesterone will do? Because of this one, there is the creations, artificial creations of the diester stage, and that will continuously create a negative feedback on this hypothalamus. So it will secrete more amount of this GnRH, and that will be stored into the posterior pituitary. On withdrawal of this progesterone, that will be again a release of a LH and FSH will be more, which will cause the folliculogenesis. That is the logic for using the long-term progesterone therapy. Now with these types of the therapy, 68% recovered within 13 to 18 days after the insertion of pre-DIP, and 88% conceived with 3 inseminations. So the animals which were treated, signs of lymphopenia within 24 hours it has gone. Now cyst gradually regress, and following the removal after 10 to 12 days, there was stress with ovulations and corpus luteum formation. This is very important, that stress with the ovulations and corpus luteum is achieved. Now, luteal cyst can be treated similarly with the progesterone, SCG, GnRH or PGF2 alpha. Now, progesterone, due to its negative feedback effects on this, we have discussed that the hypothalamo-hypophyseal axis prevent the release, thus favor the accumulation and then sudden release of the LH after progesterone withdrawal. That we have discussed as GnRH and SCG and GnRH. That will stimulate the further luteinization. If you give the SCG, either when you give the GnRH, it ultimately result in the endogenous secretion of LH only. It will result into endogenous secretion of LH only. Then whereas SCG is a ready-made exogenous LH only. That any of these, what will they will do? They will stimulate the further luteinizations of this luteinized cyst, and then these luteinized cyst become susceptible to the actions of PGF2 alpha. The PGF2 alpha is a most logical way to treat the luteal cyst. That majority of the animal come stress PGF2 alpha is cyst is luteal, and most of 56. Then and to conception also important. In all others, conception interval, failure of the cow with luteal cyst to respond is the misdiagnosis. Diagnosis at the treatment with PGF2 alpha or any will not going to affect. It is not going to affect the it is not going to give the results. Now GnRH followed by PGF2 alpha. That can be managed by giving the GnRH when the cyst is in first diagnosis and followed by this PGF2 alpha 9 days later. This is the proposed treatment or recommended treatment for the treatment of the cyst, because here the differential diagnosis between the type of the cyst, whether it is a follicular cyst, luteal cyst or the mixed type of the cyst, is not required, and this treatment will equally effective. That's why it is recommended treatment. And it also reduce the interval between the treatment and first service. Now, after the GnRH treatment and subsequent luteinization, the cyst become responsive to PGF2, prostaglandin, exogenous PGF2 alpha, and that's why this treatment is recommended. Another method that has been used for the treatment of, say, the O-Sync protocol. We have discussed O-Sync protocol. That is also going a very good result for the treatment of this cystic ovarian degeneration. At our department, we have conducted some research work on this use of this O-Sync protocol, and we find that when the O-Sync protocols were 7 and 9 days, it was not successful, much successful. Then later on we modified that protocols, and as for from the 7, 10 and 12, and along with that we have increased the dose of the GnRH also. The result were good. When we use this modified O-Sync protocol, the result was found good in the crossbred cattle of the Banaskantha district. Some people are claims that there is a homeopathic remedies that can be used for the cystic ovarian degeneration. I don't have much knowledge about the homeopathy, but Karaman in the 2007 had published an article where the homeopathic medicine is successfully effective for the treatment of the cystic ovarian degeneration. Now, what will happen if the cystic ovarian disease is not treated? That is, you know that because of that it remains infertile, and which as usual infertile animal extend the calving interval, decrease the lifetime milk yield and increase the culling rate. Important thing is, if this remain for a longer period, these types of the cystic ovarian degeneration result in the development of the mucometra. There is a distensions of the uterus with mucoid fluid thinning the uterine wall and marked dilations of the uterine gland. Usually, mucometra, when comes, people are treating it various types of the drugs, but it's not curable. But if the case of mucometra is encountered by you at anywhere, and if you treat with this is with the protocols of the cystic ovarian degeneration, that is GnRH followed by PGF2 alpha, a fantastic result will be, you will get the fantastic result. But if the mucometra is quite a long standing like 6 months or 1 year or so, which has created some histopathological changes in the uterine structure, in the uterine tissue, these animals are not recommended for the treatment. Now, prevention can be done by the careful genetic selections to eliminate bulls that have sired daughter which have subsequently suffered from cystic ovarian degeneration. What is the rule is it should not be treated for cystic ovary, and certainly for that pregnancy should not be used for breeding, but this is not possible at Indian level. That the herd manager and veterinarian is a dilemma since frequently those cows that are affected are beast producer and who will cull them, who will not breed them. That is a problem in the Indian condition. What I want to say that hormonal programs such as ovulation, progesterone supplementation, GnRH, it will assist in improving the reproductive efficiency by reducing the incidence of anovulations and cystic ovarian degeneration. Thank you very much. Your any